Ladies and gents, my name is Xander, aka Deislayers, and in this video, we're going to discuss and review this oh so glorious and oh so spectacular hand cannon known as the Service Revolver. And not just that, but all the fantastic perks that can make this thing a true god roll that might just be able to compete with the Luna's Howl. When 180 rate of fire hand cannons first came out, I really wasn't a big fan, as back then we only had things like the West's Sunfall and the Nature of the Beast and the Cold Sweat, and in those first initial cases, the recoil direction was actually bugged, and so 180 hand cannons were not my favorite, but that wasn't the case for the Service Revolver, and unfortunately it went away. The good news for all of us here is that this Service Revolver is back, and it's better than ever, because not only does this thing have some exceptional rolls, but if you happen to get the right god roll, it can 3-tap, and it can do so on a very regular basis, and you can chain those kills back to back to back. Exactly how this is all going to be done is precisely what we're going to discuss. And not just that, but we're going to analyze the weapon's TTK stats, its base stats, and of course, all the other perks that can make this thing a variant of the god roll. And so the only thing left to do, my friends, is to eviscerate that notification button, and let's jump right into the video. With the Service Revolver returning in the Season of the Drifter and having randomized rolls, I can certainly say that this thing right here is easily in my top 5 hand cannons out of all the Destiny 2 hand cannons, and that right there, my friends, is saying a lot. Now the reason why this is actually not because the weapon's base TTK stats, because in actuality, from way back when to now, it really hasn't changed that too much. And so to be more precise, this thing's actually doing 57 points of damage in the head and then 39 points of damage in the body. As with most 180 rate of fire hand cannons, this is to be expected, and so if we were to associate each one of these two things with an optimal headshot and body shot TTK respectively, this thing's going to have exactly a 1 second TTK on the dot with 3 critical headshots and 1 body shot to achieve this. Looking at solely body shots and body shots alone, it's then going to require 6 body shots, which is then going to associate to a 1.67 body shot TTK. Averaging these two values together of 1 second and 1.67 seconds and dividing by 2, we're then going to get an average time to kill that's going to be at exactly 1.33 seconds. Just to kind of surmise everything that I've just said, here's all the information right there on screen. And the main thing that I want you guys to take away from this is that all these computations are done with a Guardian that has 201 points of health, aka 10 resilience. And so for the vast majority of Guardians out there, they are not actually running 10 resilience. And in most cases, they're probably running something around, say, 4 or maybe 5 resilience. And if that's the case, then this Service Revolver is actually only going to take 2 critical headshots and 2 body shots to get its optimal TTK at 1 second, and most likely, then only require 5 body shots to get its body shot TTK, which is then going to be reduced to 1.33 seconds. Now that all of you kind of got a sense of the weapon's base time to kill values, the very next thing that I want to show you is why this specific roll is the definition of a god roll, or at least a variant of it. And so as you guys can tell from right there on screen, this thing has Hitmark HCS, Flared Magwell, Rapid Hit, and KillClip. On top of all those perks, this Service Revolver happened to roll with a masterwork of Reload. And so let me go ahead and take one step back and actually break each one of these perks down, as well as the masterwork and why I personally consider this a god roll, and then we'll go over all the other perks that you guys can get to potentially make a different variant of the same exact god roll, or something that might fit your playstyle even better. First things first, we gotta take a look at KillClip. And with KillClip, it states that reloading after a kill grants increased damage. Many of you already know this, but to be more exact, whenever you happen to have KillClip active on the Service Revolver, it's then going to do 76 points damage in the head and 51 points damage in the body. If you're a math guy like myself, you already know that that information right there means that this Service Revolver can 3-tap, and associated with this is then going to be an optimal time to kill at 0.67 seconds with 2 critical headshots and 1 body shot. Looking at body shots and body shots alone, it's then only going to require 4 body shots, which is then going to correlate to a 1.0 second body shot time to kill. Since the Service Revolver is a hand cannon and you can't actually have an in-between value between 3 shots and 4 shots, there's no way that this thing can actually have an average time to kill. But what I can show you is that all the information right there on screen is once again done with a Guardian at 10 resilience. And so this means that this Service Revolver can actually 3-tap any single Guardian in this entire game, whether or not they have the maximum health or they have absolutely no health at all. To make the pot at the end of the rainbow oh so much richer, This thing right here is actually going to have the exact same values as what a Luna's Howl can, or even that of a Not Forgotten can when it can 3-tap using Magnificent Howl. As you guys can clearly tell, I am extremely excited and very stoked, because this essentially means that there is not another single 180 rate of fire hand cannon that has the same mathematical values as the Lunas and the Not Forgotten, and thus it can clearly compete with those two things. Best of all is that anyone in this entire game can get this thing from PvE, and so if you guys want to get your hands on this, then all you have to simply do is just go grind some strikes and do some Vanguard bounties, because eventually what you'll have enough of is those Vanguard tokens, and then you can turn those into Zavala and hope and pray that RNGesus is on your side, because maybe, just maybe, this Service Revolver is going to drop with not just KillClip, but the next perk that I actually want to discuss, and that's Rapid Hit. Rapid Hit states that rapid precision hits temporarily increases number 1, stability, and number 2, reload speed. The reason why I love this perk so much is because not only is it going to give you the benefits of Outlaw, but at the same time, it's also going to give you the benefits of Zen Moment. And so in essence, we have this beautiful combination and synergy of both those perks in one perk, and that's of course Rapid Hit. But the way in which this perk benefits the weapon so much is because it's actually classified as, once again, a 180 rate of fire hand cannon, and so stability is a huge factor in being able to land rapid precision hits. If we're able to land those critical headshots, then not only are we going to get that stability, but we're also going to increase the weapon's TTK, and thus at the same time, increase the reload speed as soon as we happen to get that first kill. And you all know what that means, that we're going to be able to proc KillClip that much faster. With KillClip proc, this Service Revolver is going to 3-tap so many Guardians, and you know what that means, they're going to get annihilated, eradicated, and truly decimated, making the enemy team a little bit salty. Of course, KillClip and Rapid Hit are not the only two perks in this weapon, and so what this one also happens to have is Flared Magwell. And the reason once again why I like this so much is because this perk actually states that the weapon is then optimized for faster reloading while slightly increasing stability and drastically increasing, of course, the reloading speed. Just from hearing that one very simple sentence, we now have two perks that are going to not only increase stability but also reloading speed. And then when you add on top of this, the fact that this thing has a reloading masterwork, it's going to have an astronomical reload speed that's going to be out of this world and much faster than what Outlaw could possibly ever do. And just keep in mind that you can actually proc Rapid Hit up to 5 rapid hits. And so when you happen to have that, oh my gosh, it's like the reload speed is lightning fast, and it makes it seem as if you're the Flash, dropping Guardians left and right, and poof, just like that, adios, bye-bye. Now the only other thing that we haven't covered yet on this weapon is its actual sight, and the reason why I like to have on the Hitmark HCS sight so much is because not only is that a very accurate hand cannon sight, but it actually increases number 1, the range, and number 2, the aim assistance by a factor of 5 without ever actually decreasing any other base stats. Speaking of the weapon stats, this is actually bringing me to my next point, and that is to show you all the weapon's base stats. And so as you guys can clearly see right there, here they are. But the main thing that I want to point out is that all the +5s and the +25 is actually from the perks that I particularly happen to have on my Service Revolver. And so that's not going to be the same for you. But despite that, the very next thing that I want to mention is that it's got a pretty darn good range factor at 45, a good stability factor at 61, an okay aim assistance at 55, and a marvelous recoil direction at 88. With the weapon's aim assistance, recoil direction, and stability factors all being so high, that ultimately means that the weapon's overall shot rhythm is going to be out of this world, and that then in turn means that you're going to land so many critical headshots that you're actually going to lose your mind as to how many that you're actually going to get. Keep in mind that the shot rhythm that I'm mentioning right there is actually not taking into account the weapon's perk called Rapid Hit, and so with this, not only are we going to get an even faster reload speed, but at the same time, we're once again going to increase the weapon's stability factor, and that's then going to in turn allow you to have a better shot rhythm, and that then is going to equate to oh so spicy, oh so juicy, and oh so crispy crits. The only other thing that I want to mention about the weapon's base stats is that its range factor in my case at 50, but in your case maybe 45 or maybe a little lower or higher. That's then going to equate to a very good damage fall off, but more importantly, a very decent bullet magnetism. If you recall from almost all my other videos, I mentioned that bullet magnetism is always going to allow you to be able to miss more shots while still having the game register that they're actually landing. And this is something very, very vital to have, so whenever you can actually increase a weapon's base range factor, that's exactly what you want to do. The only real downside to the weapon is that it doesn't have that great of a handling speed at 44, but you can actually get a couple of perks to increase this, and we're going to discuss that in just a couple of seconds. But before we do so, I just want to mention the weapon's magazine size as it's only at 9. Because this weapon has such a high rate of fire, I would highly recommend that you guys put on a backup mag onto this thing. And that's because that's actually going to increase the weapon's magazine size from 9 to 12. And then when you combine it with, say, something like Rapid Hit, as well as Flared Magwell and a Reload Masterwork, that means that you're never ever going to have to run out of bullets, and you're going to be able to down many Guardians while KillClip is brought, and you can do so potentially up to 3 Guardians, and that within itself is mind-boggling and astounding. Having said that, I think that you now all understand that this thing right here can be the definition of a monstrosity and an obliterating beast, because not only can it do all these fantastic things, but I actually want to take one step back here and remind you that its one weakness is the handling speed. And so the main way in which we can actually increase this is through the weapon's perks. And so as you guys can see from right there on our screen, here's all the weapon's perks that you guys can actually get. The primary principal way in which you're going to actually increase the weapon's handling speed is actually through that very first column, and those are going to be the sights. And in that first column, you're going to realize that I happen to have 4 of those sights actually highlighted, and those are going to include Fast Draw HCS, Steady Hand HCS, True Sight HCS, and Hitmark HCS. The reason why I recommend those and not the latter 2, which are Crossfire HCS and Sure Shot HCS, is because the first 4 are always going to either increase the weapon's range, stability, aim assistance, or handling speed. However, the latter 2 are not going to do that, and most likely, they might increase one of those 2 stats that I just mentioned, but they're also going to decrease the other stats in a significant manner. And furthermore, those decreased stats are probably going to be the weapon's stability factor, and on 180 rate of fire hand cannons, that is not, I repeat, not what you want to do, because these things require a high stability factor in order for them to land more critical headshots. With that, I then want to move on to that second column of perks, and the main 5 perks that I actually recommend is the first one, which is high caliber rounds, followed by ricochet rounds, flared magwell, light mag, and then accurized rounds. No matter which one of those 5 perks that you happen to get in this column, that's going to be fantastic for this weapon, and each one of them is going to benefit it. Because if you happen to look at, say, high caliber rounds, that's going to increase the weapon's range by a factor of 5, while simultaneously increasing the flinch factor that the enemy guardian is actually seeing. On the other hand, you also might want to try and get ricochet rounds, because if that's the case, not only are you going to once again increase the range factor by 5, but you're also going to increase the stability by a margin of 10. You already know what Flared Magwell does, so I'm not going to cover that, and instead I want to cover what accurized rounds and what light mag can do, because with accurized rounds, that's also going to increase the range factor by a margin of 10, whereas light mag can also increase the weapon's range, but in this case by a margin of 5, while at the same time increasing the weapon's reload speed by a margin of 10. Remember, anytime that you guys can get a perk that is going to increase the weapon's range, its stability, or in this case, its reload speed, that's exactly what you're looking for, especially if you want to have a high lethality build. And this actually brings me to my next point, and that is as to what exactly are we looking for in order to have a high lethality build. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, Deislayers. If you're looking for a high lethality build, it's only going to come down to 1 of 5 perks, and those 1 of 5 perks are actually going to be found in that 3rd and 4th column. And as you guys can tell from right there, that's going to entail in that 3rd column, Outlaw, Rapid Hit, and Triple Tap, followed by the 4th column of KillClip and Rampage. Now before someone flips out and says, Xander, what the heck is wrong with you, and stop eating so much Chex Mix? To you, my friends, I say that the reason why I'm recommending these 5 perks and these 5 perks alone is because in order for this weapon to actually compete with, say, something like a Luna's Howl or a Not Forgotten, it has to have this high lethality build. And the way in which it does so is by the build that I happen to have, which is via, of course, Rapid Hit and KillClip. As I've already explained, you guys know that perk synergy beautifully between those 2 perks, because not only is it going to increase the weapon's stability factor, but also its reload speed, and that in turn is then going to proc KillClip, allowing the weapon to get a faster 3-tap. However, there's another perk combination that can do exactly this, and that's going to be Outlaw and KillClip. and although it's not going to increase the weapon's stability factor, you're still going to be able to proc that KillClip version very quickly, and that's then once again going to give you that incredibly fast 3-tap. Now another variant that I believe is a very high lethality combination is having triple tap and rampage, and that's because with triple tap, the more headshots that you're actually going to land, the more bullets that you're then going to get back into the magazine, and that ultimately then in turn is going to allow you to do more damage without having to actually reload. And that's then going to correlate perfectly with Rampage because that perk shines when you don't have to reload. And so the more bullets that you happen to have in your magazine, the more damage that you can do longer, and that's then going to entail more downed guardians. As far as the weapon's other perks go, if you happen to get something like, say, Moving Target or Rangefinder, or maybe something like Zen Moment and Opening Shot, then those perks can also make the weapon very good. And so having said all of these things, here is an image of all the perks that I would recommend in that first, second, third, and fourth columns. And no matter which kind of weapon combination that you guys happen to get, if you get any one of these right there, you're certainly going to happen to have a very good service revolver. But just keep in mind that if you really wanted to go for the high lethality build, you guys know already what to look for. And if you happen to get that, then by all means, let me know what that is down in the comment section below, and I can't wait to hear all about it. Lastly, be sure to watch the newest, check the latest, and share, comment, like on social media because you are the greatest. That's pretty much all that I've got for you as of right now, Deislayers. And as always, GG TNT.